All right, Middle-Aged White Guy Reacts back again today with another video for you. And in today's video, we are going back to some Ren. Now, you guys have been throwing a ton of suggestions at me. It seems the money game is like the next big one you guys want to see. So we're going to do Money Game Part 1 today. The next Ren reaction will be Money Game 2. And then we'll go from there. All right, but, you know, I'm really digging this guy. He's going to be a part of this channel moving forward. So we're going to get to everything. But like I said, today we're going to do Part 1, Money Game. Next time, part 2, and then maybe like chalk outlines or whatever. We'll go from there. Guys, let me know what you want to see after this. But without further ado, let's get right into this one. This is Ren and Money Game. Let's see what he has in store for us today.
It's a strange time we're living in. Bull can put fear in. Hierarchy parties, they make us feel inferior. Greed runs through parliament interiors. Devils walk among us, they fit the criteria.
What's he saying here? Hold on. Having some trouble with that. Let me hear that again.
Bull can put fear in. It's a strange time we're living in. Bull can put fear in. Hierarchy parties, they make us feel inferior.
What's that word? Strange time we're living in. The world can put fear in. Something parties.
Time we're living in. Bull can put fear in. Hierarchy parties, they make us feel inferior. Greed runs through parliament interiors. Hierarchy parties, they make us feel inferior. Strange time we're living in. Bull can put fear in. Hierarchy parties, they make us feel inferior.
All right. Something parties make us feel inferior. I can't catch what he's saying there. I don't know if it's the accent. I can't pick it out. Let's just keep going. Maybe we'll figure it out. Maybe we'll like use some context clues here in a minute. We'll play Blue's Clues trying to figure this out here, all right?
Hierarchy parties, they make us feel inferior. Greed runs through parliament interiors. Devils walk among us, they fit the criteria. Eerie, theory, strife, fearing, weary-minded men when we're clearly living in dictatorships. Nearly blinded by illusions to choose who's fooling who. A pull chain to your shoes, I'm pained.
Ugh. Okay. Whatever parties make us feel inferior, he then goes and talks about Parliament and devils like walking around in Parliament, or in the Parliament interiors, or evil, or something along those lines, right? So this is, and then he's talked about men like living in dictatorships, and then how does he say this? Hold on, 1 second.
By illusions to choose who's fooling.
All right, let me just catch it at the beginning. The illusion to choose, though. That's the part I'm talking about.
We're clearly living in dictatorships, nearly blinded by illusions to choose who's
nearly blinded by illusions to choose. So men living in dictatorships, nearly blinded by illusions to choose. So this is like a commentary on world government or his government or our governments or what have you, right? Because think about it. I don't know how, you know, UK's government works. I know how American government works. And we get this choice between left or right. Liberal, conservative, Democrat, Republican. That's essentially it. That's what we get to choose. And I've said this on this channel. You can go back to any number of videos of mine. I've said this probably 100 times. If you think there's a difference between like a Nancy Pelosi or a Lindsey Graham or a Mitch McConnell, which if you're familiar with American politics, those are like very big, prominent members of both parties, right? Nancy Pelosi's on the left, Mitch McConnell will be on the right. If you think there's a difference between them, you're insane. They all work for the same goals, all right? It's two wings of the same bird, two sides to the same coin, right? So it is absolutely essentially a false choice that we get to make, because you have the established politicians over top of the parties who control and set the the talking points and the narratives for each party and the policy positions going forward. So you have this group at the top controlling the parties that are essentially all buddy-buddy. It's the uniparty. So there really is essentially no choice. It's a dog and pony show. So, I mean, 100% I am with you on that. Let's go.
When we're clearly living in dictatorships, nearly blinded by illusions to choose who's fooling who. A ball chain to your shoes on pain. It's a crying shame. The pursuit of our own wealth lights a flame that makes greed a game that lets this whole world burn. As the world turns, the whole world burns.
Okay, let's go back one here. Catch this real quick.
It's a crying shame. The pursuit of our own wealth lights a flame that makes greed a game that
the pursuit of our own wealth ignites the flame and makes greed a game, or something like that. Then he finishes with,
lets this whole world burn. As the world turns, the whole world.
Greed's a game that allows the whole world to burn. So our pursuit of wealth, our pursuit of money, ignites the flame, right, of greed. Because if we weren't trying to gain wealth, you wouldn't have the opportunity to be corrupted by greed. All right, so the pursuit of wealth lights the flame of greed, which then causes the entire world to burn. Which, money is the root of all evil, right? I mean, that's a saying for a reason. And we see how greed destroys things. You know, whether it is, you know, we're talking about an ecosystem that some company is cheaply dumping their runoff into, or people who have been, it's a term I'm looking for here, affected by the pursuit of money. Okay, so like God, I can't come up with a good example off the top of my head of what I'm talking about. I guess the opposite example of that would be like Flint, Michigan. They you know, they had bad water and they hid it instead of fixing the problems, and it affected their entire community. Okay, because somebody didn't want to address a water issue years ago. I don't know if they still are dealing with that problem or not, but whatever. You know, they hid a problem, and it ended up, you know, to save some money and some embarrassment. And it ends up affecting the people around that area because somebody wanted to put some extra shillings in their pocket. You know, it's messed up. It is absolutely messed up.
Makes greed a game that lets this whole world burn. As the world turns, the whole world burns. But money was invented for trade, but now those bits of paper twist hearts, make slaves, turns a saint into a sinner, a child into a killer. His finger on the trigger of a money game.
Okay, how does he say this? Let's go. He's talking in this one, guys.
Those bits of paper, twist hearts, make slaves.
Okay, wait a minute. One more.
But money was invented for trade.
Money was invented for trade, but these bits of paper twist hearts, make slaves. Okay? So the money was necessary. It is necessary in society. Okay? This is, you know, we can't afford to carry around hunks of rare metals with us everywhere we go. Okay, so it was a necessary thing that we come up with these bits of paper that we can trade. Okay, that represent things of value. But these bits of paper have twisted hearts and made slaves, and has turned saints into sinners and children into killers, or something like that. Yeah, I mean, like I've said, money is a corrupting force. It can be. Absolutely, it can be, especially if your pursuit of it becomes unhealthy. And it'll make people do things that they normally would not do, okay? That under any other circumstance, they would never do such things. But when money is involved, people are willing to kind of set their morals aside sometimes, okay? The pursuit of wealth and the pursuit of money does not have to be a bad and evil thing. And it's not. There's nothing wrong with wanting money, with accumulating it, and saving it, or whatever. The problem is when you start justifying, ignoring, or changing your morals so that you can acquire more. Let's go, man.
The world turns, the whole world burns. But money was invented for trade, but now those bits of paper twist hearts, make slaves, turns a saint into a sinner, a child into a killer. His finger on the trigger of a money game. Oh, rain, 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 rain. A storm it comes our way. And those who rise through distorted lies, poison in the veins. But we like to point the blame, 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 blame. It's easier to blame, but point the mirror at ourselves. We're all part of this old money game.
Oh.
Stop.
Oh, all right, man. So you could blame, but point the mirror at yourself, and we're all part of this money game because we all have to participate. We all participate in it, and by participating in it, we are, oh, what's the word? We are, by participating in it, we are, oh my God, brain farting on the word. Horrible. All right, but yes, we all have no choice but to be a part of this game, okay? We are legitimacy. Okay, by participating in it, we are lending legitimacy to it. We can't get around it. Now, there's a portion of people who can go kind of off grid and just never participate in society, and they are not part of any of this. All right, but for 99% of us, we have no choice but to participate in society. Part of participating in society is exchanging goods and services for bits of paper. Okay, so by being complicit in this exchange, we legitimize the system, and we're all part of it. We're all part of the problem. Until we can remove ourselves completely from it, you can't blame other people who are also in it with you. All right, it makes no sense. That's nice, man. I like that.
We're all part of this old money game. Stop.
Is that necessary? You have to hit him like that?
This old money game.
God. That just gave me vibes. What's that movie? Oh my God, the Brad Pitt. Not the only one that's coming to my mind is Fury, and it's not Fury because Fury was the tank one. Inglorious Bastards, is that the name of it? I think that's the name of it. That's you guys know the scene I'm talking about, right? That just totally gave me vibes from that. The Bear Jew, that's what it is.
Dear Mr. President, it's evident that everyone's a resident of fear when they support these ideas to keep us separate. When they make us believe that everybody is coming to terrorize you in the streets. They say badly through gritted teeth. That's my right to hate. That's freedom of speech.
Okay, that was deep. Let's come back a little bit. Make sure we heard it right.
Dear Mr. President, it's evident that everyone's a resident of fear when they support these ideas to keep us separate.
It's evident, or dear Mr. President, it's evident, how does he say that? Hold on.
It's evident that everyone's a resident of fear when they
Everyone's a resident of fear when something like you push the ideas that separate. Okay? Speaking of like all the wedge issues out there, right? All these issues that clearly pit us on one side or another. Let's go back here. Hold on.
Dear Mr. President, it's evident that everyone's a resident of fear when they support these ideas to keep us separate. When they make us believe that everybody is coming to terrorize you in the streets.
It makes us believe that everybody's coming to terrorize us in the streets or something along those lines. So all these wedge issues that put us on one side or another make us afraid of the other side, makes us think that, you know, you're going to get terrorized in the streets, and has us living in fear of one another. When we shouldn't. I mean, that's ridiculous. It shouldn't be that way, but, you know, hey, that's a pretty succinct remark of the state of the world right now. It's absolutely what's been going on.
Support these ideas to keep us separate when they make us believe that everybody is coming to terrorize you in the streets. They say proudly through gritted teeth. That's my right to hate. That's freedom of speech. But when did freedom become a reason to hate? A way to justify a racist slur or insult we make? There's an
When did freedom become a reason to hate and to justify like all the racist things that you say or something along those lines? You know, and that is not the purpose of free speech at all. It's not the purpose of it. It shouldn't be the purpose of it. It shouldn't be used for that manner. But the thing about freedom is it's messy. And if you put limits on it, it's no longer freedom. It's not. It's what you're allowed. And, you know, I believe as an American, you are allowed to say whatever you want. Just the same way as I'm allowed to think you're a horrible person for thinking what you do. All right. So, you know, I'm a firm believer that sunlight is the best disinfectant. Okay. So if you have a group of people that have these messed up views and they're shouting it from the hilltops, people are going to correct them pretty quick. You know, when they realize that, you know, not only does everybody not really agree with them, but they have now vilified them, it might make them, at least part of them, some of them, reconsider their positions. But if you make that group, that same group, hide in a basement somewhere, and they're just with themselves, feeding into each other, and they never get that pushback, and they're kind of in this bubble, and they're allowed to just grow unfettered, I don't think that's how you should really deal with that group, because then they are just reinforcing each other's beliefs, and they never have to hear anything to the contrary. Where I think, you know, if that's how you refine ideas, though, is you put ideas into the public sphere, people discuss it, refine it, detract from it, take this part, get rid of that part, splice these together, and that's how you end up with a good thing, you know, right? Because everybody collaborated to refine this idea and make it something better than what it originally was. Where if you make people hide what they really think, there's nobody to ever challenge. And then these ideas stay in these rudimentary forms. If you could kind of follow along with that. So, I mean, I know what he's saying here. I get it. But at the same time, there's no real way to separate freedom of speech from people who are going to use freedom of speech to say awful things. There's no separating it. The second thing, though, I don't think is as prevalent as what it's made out to be. I mean, in my day-to-day life, I never see or hear it anywhere, besides on YouTube and people telling me about it. You know, so while I'm sure it's out there and it happens, it's not mainstream. Okay. But yeah, there is no separating the two, unfortunately, and it's something that sucks, but we'd rather know who thinks that way than have them hiding it, is my philosophy at least.
When did freedom become a reason to hate? A way to justify a racist slur or insult we make? There's an irony in freedom, cause us in the West, we have pillaged and plundered the middle class savages, colonized all of the rest. That's called hypocrisy.
What?
Certain value that
Hold on. Alright, that like double, possibly triple time right there. I'm going to need to hear that again. Hold on. That was quick.
Justify a racist slur or insult we make. There's an irony in freedom, cause us in the West, we have pillaged and plundered the middle class savages, colonized all of the rest. That's called hypocrisy. Preach a certain value.
One more time. I don't think I'm going to get that. Hold on.
A way to justify a racist slur or insult we make. There's an irony in freedom, cause us in the West, we have pillaged and plundered the middle class savages, colonized all of the rest. That's called hypocrisy.
We pillage something, colonize the rest. Pillage, colonize the rest. Okay. All right. Maybe we'll figure that one out. Again, we'll use some context clues. We'll Blues Clues this together. He says pillage, and a bunch of other things and colonize the rest. Okay, we'll keep that in mind.
Become a reason to hate, a way to justify a racist slur or insult we make. There's an irony in freedom, cause us in the West, we have pillaged and plundered the middle class savages, colonized all of the rest. That's called hypocrisy. Preach a certain value that you never keep yourselves. Your country was in flames, you denigrate yourselves in a second. Still you spit your venom, demonizing immigrants when really you're the immigrant, cause all of us are immigrants or descended from immigrants.
Okay.
Irony is imminent.
Okay. So he was talking about those in the West, we've pillaged a bunch of other things and colonized. So he's talking about how like our borders became, how our countries became our countries. So we ransacked other places and colonized them, and it's hypocrisy because he's saying like if our country was on fire or whatever, we would immigrate too. So he's saying, like, by displacing people throughout history, we've caused this immigration, whereas it's justified because if our country was burning, we would do the same without a second thought, you know? And hey, if America was like, you know, a complete war zone, and I know Canada was at peace and provided a normal way of life, yeah, I'm going to Canada. Okay, I'm going to Canada. He's absolutely right with that. He is absolutely right. Let's go. Let's see where he's going with it, though.
Really, you're the immigrant, cause all of us are immigrants or descended from immigrants. Irony is imminent. I'll shed the light on immigrants. America was colonized by Britain. Britain, it was colonized by Rome. And also colonized by the Saxons. They were German, by the way. You know how people throw shade upon the Germans because of history's pain, and yet we made the same mistakes all again. Demonize a...
He's saying the whole world's a melting pot, man. The whole world's a melting pot. Yeah, we've all immigrated around, right? Like, and that's true. My family immigrated to America. Half came from, like, Germany and Norway, Hungary type region, and half came from Italy. At slightly separate times, around the same time, though. But, yeah, when you think about it, we all have descended from whatever, you know, because history, that's how territory was gained. Through domination, through ransacking and colonizing other people's towns, cities, countries, whatever. And all this land has changed hands throughout history hundreds of times. You know, it started with this group, but this group was overtaken by this group, and they kind of melted into another group who was ransacked by this group, who then interbred and created this group, and this group had this, you know, and it is. Essentially, we have all become some sort of melting pot to some extent, all right, because everyone's land has changed hands so many times. And now we're all obsessed with this is ours and that is yours, you know, and demonizing immigrants, which I don't see. I don't see the demonization of immigrants. I see, you know, in America, there's two issues that have been conflated into one, okay? In America, we have an open southern border, essentially. And we have immigrants that come through there. And, you know, the problem isn't the immigrants. The problem is the open border that people are being trafficked through. You know, there's human abuse that goes on crossing this border back and forth. There are drugs that are coming in and killing people. You know, fentanyl's a really big problem. And, you know, it's not the hospitals and the doctors that are writing prescriptions for them and everybody has pharmaceutical grade fentanyl. No, they have, you know, this fentanyl that's getting mixed in with everything that isn't, and there's no way to properly dose outside of a pharmacy setting, you know, and people are dying. So the open border gets, hold on, I'm sorry. The open border issue gets conflated with immigrants when they're two separate things. You know, I know there are people out there who don't like immigrants. Don't get me wrong. There are messed up people who are like, oh, you know, stay in your own country and this and that. Absolutely outrageous. All right. But having an open border and allowing human trafficking and drugs in and out freely, it has to change, you know. So yeah, that's kind of, in America, it gets conflated as one thing, but it really is two separate issues.
Shade upon the Germans because of history's pain, and yet we made the same mistakes all again. Demonize a whole people, Jewish or Muslim, the same and the same. Old situations.
Hold on.
Again.
Missed something here.
How people throw shade upon the Germans because of history's pain, and yet we made the same mistakes all again. Demonize a whole people, Jewish or Muslim, the same.
Yes. Okay. So hey, he's like, hey, we demonized Germans for the stuff that they did in history, and then we've made the same mistakes again with the Muslim community. You know, after 9/11, you know, especially after, at least in my experience, after 9/11, you know, there was a big shift. You know, in relations with them, and you know, it was intense for a little bit shortly after. We've kind of gotten it back under wraps, you know, but it is messed up that history looks at these groups as bad because of some things that happened in the past that, you know, majority of Germans, of Muslims, don't agree with, would never condone, and had no part in. You know, so yeah, it's messed up. It's messed up that as a society, we hold entire groups of people responsible for the actions of a very few.
Pain, and yet we made the same mistakes all again. Demonize a whole people, Jewish or Muslim, the same and the same. Old situations play on repeat. The same old TV shows repeat. Yeah, we worship the bleak.
The same shows play on repeat. Because if you don't know history, you're doomed to repeat it. Okay? If you do not know history, you are doomed to repeat it. And we see it. We see examples of it all over. Currently, in the past, and you know, I'm sure in the future there'll be plenty. Because people don't care. They don't really care about history like they should. And so that's why you could see old things become new again. And let's not even look at it in like a political sense, in anything nefarious. Okay? In the 90s, I wore flannel shirts, Tommy Hilfiger, Timberland boots, khakis, white tennis shoes, all white tennis shoes. All right. I don't think all of that's back yet. But I know flannels are back. Tommy's making a resurgence. I don't think Timberland ever went away, but still, I notice that the next generation is now taking all the stuff from my childhood and acting like it's something new. And it's like, dude, that's not new. I was doing that 30 years ago, man. It's not new. But they don't know. So they think they like came up with this stuff on their own. It's like, that's not your style, man. That was mine from when I was in high school. So, you know, if you don't know about something, you don't know the history of things, you can have something presented to you old and think it's just the newest thing and the greatest thing since sliced bread.
Old situations play on repeat. The same old TV shows repeat. Yeah, we worship the bleak. Our opinions aren't our own and we follow like sheep. There's no left, there's no right. In the middle we sleep. Rain,
nice.
rain.
There's no left, there's no right. In the middle we sleep. All right? Like I said, there's a uniparty, okay? It's an illusion of choice. And not every single person is all left wing or all right wing. Like, yeah, sure, there are people out there. I'm not going to say they don't exist, but I want to say 98% of us are somewhere in the middle. We look at this side and what they think, and we're like, oh, this is good, this is good, this is good. We'll reject the rest of that. We look at this side and we go, this is good, this is good, this is good. We'll reject the rest of that. So now we take these sides and we look at them and we're like, this is how I think the country should be. This is how I think things should be ran. These are the things I believe. And it's a hodgepodge. All right. But what is our choice? Like I said, I'm not sure about Britain, UK, whatever. I don't know how they do stuff across the pond there. But I know here, our politicians essentially vote lockstep with each other. So there might be a politician who embraces the things from this side that I like and embraces the things from this side that I like. All right, but I can't vote for that person because they, even though they think the same way I do, they're only going to vote this way, or they're only going to vote this way, whatever team they're on. there's a lot of good politicians who I feel like are kind of in the middle, and they would be a good bridge to maybe an independent, or at least maybe not an independent party, but at least would be willing to work hand in hand with one another if we had more people like that. But once they get in, they vote party. They vote party. And it removes all choice that we ever had, that we didn't even have in the first place, because like I said, the uniparty's over both, and they dictate the direction that each party is going to go anyway. It's messed up. It is messed up. It's a dog and pony show. Absolutely.
Follow like sheep, there's no left, there's no right, in the middle we sleep. Rain, 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 a storm it comes our way. And those who rise through distorted lies, poison in the veins. But we'd like to point the blame, 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 blame. It's easier to blame, but point the mirror at ourselves. We're all part of this whole money game.
That's so deep, man. We can blame, blame, blame all we want. I like that. I really like that, because it is absolutely the truth. And even though you try to think you're above it, and, even, me to a certain extent, like I've said this a million times, like I only need enough money to survive. Okay. If my bills are paid, I have food on the table, I'm golden. So if I have to work 5 hours to make that money, that's what I'm going to work. If I have to work 60, 70 hours to make that money, that's what I'm going to work. To me, my free time is worth more than what my skill set could reasonably pay me from the open market. Okay. So, even though I have a very, I think, healthy outlook on money, I am still part of the problem, because I am still part of the game, because I still participate. I still participate in this debt-based society. I have debt on my home. I have debt on my cars. If I don't work, and stop paying these bills, they come and take everything, right? So I'm part of it, and I feed the machine, essentially, by participating in it. Even though I would love to sit here and absolve myself of it, he's absolutely 100% right. We are all to blame.
We're at ourselves. We're all part of this whole money game.
Draw eyes on him. I don't know if I'm comfortable with how he's abusing this guy, though. What's going on, man? No, don't do it. Oh, man, come on. Damn. Woo. Okay. That's quite the ending. It's not the ending I expected there. Yeah, that's fantastic, though. That's great. I really like the message in that. He talks about, the governments and the false choice that we get, how money has lit the flame of greed, which is destroying the world, and how, our countries all have been turned over so many different times that we're all a melting pot. We're all immigrants, and we need to, look at immigrants as the people that they are, and not, be so, or to be more understanding to their plights, because if our country was on fire, we would leave it too. And it's absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. Fantastic, though. Can't wait to do part 2, but that'll do it for part 1. Middle-aged white guy is out. Peace.